Hi, I'm Renee. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My last video showed our move to our new home in Nova Scotia. That video was all about our drive from Montreal, where we used to live, to Lunenburg County, where we live now, and then also those first days of living here, which were, I'm not going to say equal parts, but which were definitely a mix of enchantment and a certain kind of magic with this place, as well as deep gratitude for being here and for my parents, and then the disorientation of that whole transition and that moving process. So that's what that video was about. And we were here for a couple weeks, and then it was time to make a return trip to Montreal. And we returned to Montreal to help our oldest child move out of the apartment that we had all been living in together as a family during our 9 years in Montreal. We had 2 kids still living with us before we moved from Montreal to Nova Scotia. And so we had to, as part of our move out here, help those 2 kids. Getting our kids into their own places or into, shared roommate situations happened concurrently with our move. And we staged that moving out process over the last few months. So our youngest moved out in the beginning of May. We left the city in the middle of June, and the lease on our apartment was up at the end of June or July 1st, which is the traditional moving day in Quebec and definitely Montreal, if not all of Quebec. Our oldest child, the apartment that they were moving into, was available on July 1st, so we had to travel back to Montreal to help them move. And they were moving into an apartment, and like all the things that go with that, not just becoming a roommate of an existing apartment and of an existing living arrangement. And so there was just a lot of details associated with that process. So in my previous video, I was showing our first days here, and then we had to make a trip back to Montreal to help one of our kids move for the beginning of July. And I am talking to you here now after having returned from that trip to Montreal. I didn't shoot video during that time because it's not the story or stories that I want to be sharing here, but also because it's just such an intense time. It was 5 days of high intense moving and traveling. We had a trailer. We were driving my dad's truck and pulling a U-Haul trailer, and we've never done that before. And so we were kind of driving at times under the speed limit, like when it was 110, we were driving 105. But also we just weren't used to doing that kind of drive. So we drove a little slower than we're used to. The hummingbird is coming to visit the feeder, but I think me being here is problematic for it. So maybe it'll come back. What was I saying? It was a very long drive. It took us 16 hours to get to Montreal. And then we had 3 full days of the final packing up of our child's stuff, as well as our stuff. We still had stuff in Montreal. Not a lot, but some. And some appliances that our child needed while we were having moved here, and they were still in the apartment for 2 weeks. So those last 3 days, we moved them into their apartment. We also moved their girlfriend. We then loaded up the remainder of our things, which were our washer, dryer, and our fridge. So there was no videoing happening during that time because of the intensity, but also I was with my family the whole time, and I didn't want to be implicating them or involving them in the videos. Now we are back from Montreal, and the move is complete. Our lease is over. We no longer have an apartment there. Our kids are moved and settled or settling into their own places, and we have landed here. done with the eggs tomorrow. Hi, Dad.
Hi. Oh, it's cool off outside.
Yeah, it's gotten a little
It got
cooler.
cooler than it was earlier. Oh man, I slept.
Did you sleep?
Oh,
Good.
I laid down and it was like gone.
So I'm making pasta with some
Oh yeah.
chicken. I got this at the market today. Mild Italian chicken sausages. So it's like anyways, so I'm just cooking it up now.
Yeah.
This pasta's a quick fix. How was the dump?
Huh?
How was the dump?
Oh,
They
crazy.
don't call it the dump anymore, isn't it called the
Landfill.
they transfer the
No, you don't call it a dump. It's not dump. That doesn't sound like a very nice word. Let's go to the dump.
Look at what my dad installed for me this last weekend. He installed this clothesline. It used to be behind the house, over like behind this part of the house on the other side. And it worked well, but I had this vision that it would just be so much better here because you can just step right outside of the door there, come around, stand comfortably, hang the things on the line, and then I also have the view from my office, which is right there, and I just love clothes or like laundry on the line. So much thanks to my dad for installing this for me. It brings me a lot of joy. For many years, in all the different places that I've lived, clotheslines have been really important to me. I really love clotheslines and I love hanging laundry on the line. I'm curious to see how much laundry hanging will show up here. Hopefully not more than what will bore you. For the last 20 years, almost every place that we've lived has had a clothesline, and I love clotheslines and I love hanging laundry. And there was 5 years there where 5 or 6, where we didn't even have a dryer, and we didn't have a dryer on purpose. We chose not to. We could have put a dryer in. Instead, we had a freezer in the space that the dryer would have gone. That was while we lived in Maine, and our kids were young, and life was simpler then in certain ways, but I was looking for a certain kind of lifestyle, and I wanted to cultivate a certain kind of lifestyle. And I was doing that with our children, and we homeschooled them, and we had like a very home-based and home routines, rhythm to our lives, and also lots of outdoors. But you know, during the weeks and just the daily living, it was home rhythms and routines, and hanging laundry was one of those. And in the years in between that, so that was like we moved from there 13 or so years ago. In the ensuing years, I've had laundry lines at most of the places where I've lived. And our last stint in Montreal for 9 years, we had a line, and I used it a lot in the summer. I'm running out of space on the line here, so I'm going to move to the rack soon. We got to the point in family life when our kids were teenagers where everyone was managing their own laundry, and I was the only person who would hang things on the line. But there was no space in the winter time and just in inclement weather to hang laundry indoors. It was a apartment in which we just filled up all the space. This is one of my racks that I got in Maine all those years ago when we were hanging all of our laundry, and we had to hang indoors during the winter for a family of 5. Mind you, our kids were littler, so their clothes were littler. During our Montreal years, laundry hanging was a random and not routine part of life. And previously in my life, it had been, and I missed that. Even though I had a great laundry line there, but as life got busier with teenagers, as it does, and with my own work, and just it's a very busy season of life. The busyness combined with the fact that everyone is doing their own laundry, and they want to do it as conveniently as possible. And the fact that we had no space in an apartment to have a rack for hanging when the weather was inclement. All of those things worked against hanging laundry to dry. And I really enjoy line drying the laundry, and there is a life quality aspect to it. I want to live a life where there's time to hang the laundry. Of course, there's energy benefits also. And now that it's like just 2 of us and we're not having to take care of any children's laundry, and to be quite honest, like my husband does his own laundry. So, so I think hanging my laundry is very doable, and household linens should be very doable. And I have so much space to do it. And in the winter, I'll have space even indoors by the wood-burning stove. It's a romantic way to do laundry. Use the washing machine for the ease. See, I have no desire to hand wash my laundry. And then line dry, or I should say rack dry by the stove. My mom has done this for years, although she does have a washer and a dryer, but whenever possible, she line dries also. So this is a thing I want to kind of reinstitute in my life as part of my life routines and rhythm, is hanging my laundry and adding that kind of meditative slowing down. Like, I think it does slow you down a little bit, but it also gets me outdoors. I am looking forward to doing that here, and really grateful that my dad got this line up for me to make that easy. And then I have 2 racks, wooden racks, that I have actually stored and carried around through multiple moves for 15 years. I have this nice wooden rack, and I have another large wooden rack, and I acquired both of these when we lived in Maine many years ago, and these were high value items to me, and I have been toting them around and storing them, and now I'm able to put them to use again, and I'm pretty happy about that.